Well, I'm super excited because we get to talk about some ideas for living in the future. Now, of course, if you're going to have an idea of how to live in the future, you have to have an honest approach to, issues of today, right? It's always good to look at today with an honest perspective. The other day, my wife told me I had two major faults I could work on. Yeah, the first one was I don't listen enough. And the second one, well, it was something I don't remember. So, no. And let me just say, you know, when a man says he'll do anything for his woman, he's saying like fight bad guys, kill dragons, okay? Not necessarily keep his clothes off the floor and vacuum. It's just, I'll just put that straight, okay? But, well, welcome to Kansas City. And that's a really big point for my breakthrough today because we're going to talk about someone from Kansas City today. Someone who's made a big difference in this world through their ideas, their innovations. We're talking about Dr. Billings? Oh, close, okay? I'll give you a hint, okay? Chim chimney, chim chimney, chim chim. A cricket? No. Walt Disney, of course, right? Well, Walt Disney, now, when you think of Walt Disney, you probably think of his movies, his cartoons, Disneyland, right? All those places. Well, we're going to talk about a breakthrough idea that he had for the city of tomorrow. Now, first of all, let's talk about that idea of Disneyland. Because when Walt had that idea of Disneyland, he told it to people, and people were like, yeah, that's a really bad idea. You're going to throw a lot of money in, and it's going to be a flop. You're going to make a place for people to come have fun, and it's going to be that expensive. Even his brother Roy was like, yeah, maybe not this idea, but Walt did it. And Disneyland in California was a huge success, and it became a worldwide sensation. It was known around the world. Well, he eventually, of course, does Disney World in Florida, but he has a bigger vision for what he's going to do. And he has this idea that the name you probably recognize, Epcot, but that is an acronym for Experimental Prototype Community of Tomorrow. And it wasn't going to be the amusement park or part of the amusement park. It was actually going to be a place people lived. It was going to be a city. And he designed this, and the way he put it together was he got his team. Now, he didn't have Ventioneers like Dr. Billings has, but he had Imagineers. And so his Imagineer team, and what were Imagineers? I mean, they were good artists in general, but one of the big things with Imagineers was you had the attitude of, yeah, we can do anything, because Walt said we could, type of vision, right? So he got his team together and he said, I want to design this city, and I want you guys to help me draw it, and we're going to design everything similar to how we designed Disneyland and how we're doing Disney World, but I have a bigger vision. So here's the layout for Walt's Epcot city. It's a circular city that he had been dreaming up, and the city would have different rings of places that you could spend time in the city, and it would hold about 20,000 people that would live there. And the idea was that, of course, this would be a city of tomorrow. So we're going to have futuristic technologies we're always going to be testing. And he even said that this is going to require so much more than just what the Disney company can do. So we are going to reach out to the greatest scientists and minds around the world to help us get the latest technologies. And if you live in this city, you basically have to be, ready to be testing things. So you might go to work and find out, hey, we've got a new dishwasher from General Electric. We're just going to slip it in and just, okay. And you get home and you try out the new dishwasher. But it would be a place where new technologies would be tested. So if you look at this picture, in the center, he called it the Metropolitan or the downtown. And in the middle is a big hotel and a big conference center, because he knew that people would come from all the world to visit this place. So in the middle is this visiting area with the hotel, the conference center, and then around it in the downtown would be restaurants, shops, places that, people who live in the city could go to have a good time at the restaurant or, in those places. And they would have shops of things from around the world. One of the neat things, though, about the centerpiece, the Metropolitan, his idea, and this was in a draft phase, was that it would be all covered. So there'd be a layer, probably a lot of glass, because he said that there would be daylight coming through. But if you would walk around the streets of this downtown area, there would be no cars, and it would be air conditioned, outdoor. So outdoor but covered and with a wall going all around. So if you look at this graphic, this is like they peeled back part of the top cover so you can see down into the downtown. That makes sense. And then he said, so we won't have cars where you have to look both ways before crossing the street, and be worried your kids are going to get run over by a car. Instead, we will let people walk. We'll do bicycles, little electric carts that you can ride, and we'll have what he called people movers. And here are the people movers. And basically, they were testing these out already in Disney World, but you get on them and it looks like they're not moving, but they're actually, they get on this, they're constantly moving. And so you get on this spinning disc that moves with the people movers, and then you get onto the people movers, and the people movers are never stopped to let you get on. They're always moving. So there would never be like a backlog of people waiting for the next batch to come. There were always people movers to take you around. So you could get on these and go from your house down to where you work, or you could go down to the Metropolitan Center, and this would allow them to go back and forth. Now, these were a lot smaller than the ones he was planning to put in Epcot. But then, what's outside that downtown? The first thing on the outskirts of the downtown, so we're still kind of in the center of this city, was high-density apartments. So people could live in these high-density apartments that went around downtown. Then outside of there, he called it the Green Belt. Here's another graphic. This shows the Green Belt. And this is where he envisioned schools, churches, playgrounds, stadium fields, places where there would be theaters, and you could go have a good time there, but kids would go to school there. So that's the Green Belt. And then finally, the biggest belt all the way around was the neighborhood. And here's a tight shot of, you can see those two places way out on the right side. Those are two of the neighborhoods. And this basically had, if you see that center line going through, that's where the people mover rail goes. So you'd ride the people mover to your neighborhood and you'd get off. And if you notice, there's all that green. There's no road for cars inside of one of these neighborhood circles. And then those dark squares going around the perimeter, those are houses. So the kids could kind of come out in the middle and play, and there would be parks and stuff between the houses. And then outside the houses is a road. And so the only place people would be able to drive is on the outside. Cars would not be allowed on the inside. And this vision he had was pretty enormous. Like, there's levels, and I don't have time to get into all of it, but underneath this city is where the traffic goes. There's some traffic that goes in the middle on top, but most of the traffic's underneath. In fact, he had two levels. He had traffic for normal cars, and he had separate traffic for semis. So delivery trucks would have their own way to go, and then you could ride up elevators up into the top. And then he said anyone who lives in one of these cities would be required to have a job. So everyone who's there has a part to play. And he envisioned a lot of the people there would either work for businesses around it or even for Disney World. And then you would be able to ride the people mover back to your home. And he envisioned that it would always be changing. So he made a video, and I'm not going to play the video, but this is him filming the video, talking about it. And of course, this is Disney, so they made a soundtrack, they made animations, the narrator from Sleeping Beauty is the narrator of this, and it talks about this city. And then Walt got sick, and he was forced to hospitalize. And in his sick bed, they say that he would lay on the bed and look at the tiles, and he envisioned his city using the tiles, and he invented more of the city, and then he'd make his brother Roy document everything he was envisioning so that when he got better, he could pick it back up and keep going and not forget all the ideas he was coming up with. But unfortunately, 2 months after that video, he passed away, and they would end up taking his idea, and they kind of decided, well, without Walt's vision, I don't know if we can really continue it. So now Epcot isn't a city where people, it's not the city that he was envisioning. It's more of part of the place where you can go see things, but it's not that city. So some pretty incredible, groundbreaking ideas that, who knows, might go into something in the future of tomorrow. Thank you.